of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over Israel and Judah. Now the king of the soldiers marched to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the region. But they said to David, You'll never get in here. Even the blind and the lame could ward you off, thinking David can't get in here. Nevertheless, David did capture the stronghold of Zion. This is the city of David. On that day, David said, Whoever would conquer the Jebusites must strike through the water shaft to those lame and blind, whom David's soul despises. That is why they used to say, the blind and lame couldn't get in here, couldn't get into the house.
The blind and the lame. Keep you out of Jerusalem. The blind and the lame, whose David's soul despises. Seems a bit harsh, right? I mean, as believers, are we supposed to be compassionate on the blind and the lame? Like, what's this thing? This was a question that kind of always cropped up in me. David is a man after God's own heart. So he's got this thing about these blind and these lame people trying.
One thing is with blindness, it's considered a sin, right? So it's a sin, and so being lame is considered to be, what did you do wrong against God? How did you offend him? It's considered a sin or a transgression or a transpath that's against him. And even like when Jesus said to give sight to the blind, nobody could heal the blind. It was something that was beyond their abilities. So when Jesus healed the blind, it was something special, something different.
We're going to get into that. You can see the verses up there. We have some stuff going on. But this always struck me as strange. What is this that David's got going on, right? He despises the blind and the lame. Does anybody know what the Hebrew words for blind and lame are?
Ivar for blind.
Iver, right? And Peseach, which also struck me as strange because it sounds very close to Hebrew, and Pesach. And I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? And so my brain for years was like, just not really able to make sense of this question. So, moving on, Leviticus 21, 18 through 23. I get a volunteer for that one? Please.
No one who has a defect quality, whether he is blind, lame, disfigured, deformed, or has a broken foot or arm, or is hunchbacked or dead, or has a defective eye, or skin sores, or scabs, or damaged testicles. No descendant of Aaron who has a defect may approach the altar to present special gifts to the Lord. Since he has a defect, he may not approach the altar to offer food to his God. However, he may eat from the food offered to God, including the holy offerings and the most holy offerings. Yet, because of his physical defect, he may not enter the room behind the inner curtain or approach the altar, for this would defile my holy places. I am the Lord who makes them holy.
So, we see certain restrictions being put on those who are blind or lame or maimed, hunchbacked, crushed testicles, right? Certain things that they're not allowed to engage in. Certain things they can engage in, but certain things that they just can't do. Yes?
Does it have to do with the unblemished lamb?
We're gonna move. Carry on. I'm leading you on my train of thinking. I'm going to lead you on my train of thinking. So we have this bit in David. We have this bit in the priesthood. Then we get into the Gospels, right? Mark 10, 46 and 52, and Matthew 18, 8 and 9. First, could I get Mark, please?
And they came to Jericho, and as he was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a great crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind beggar, the son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside. And when he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stopped and said, Call him. And they called the blind man, saying to him, Take heart, get up, he is calling you. And throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. And Jesus said to him, What do you want me to do for you? And the blind man said to him, Rabbi, let me recover my sight. And Jesus said to him, Go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he recovered his sight and followed him on the way.
Amen. So this also perplexed me. Not that Yeshua would do it, but the connection between David, whose soul hates the blind, and Yeshua being appealed to as son of David to help the blind. And for a few years, my brain is like, I don't know what to make of this. I'm mulling it. I'm like, there's a connection. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is. Brian?
Does he really mean blind, or does he mean without knowledge, insight, or understanding? Like blind guides. So, because lame, I get the Passover lamb because no unblemished or unclean thing to be before God. So, but you're also half, you're not whole. So you're not, I think there's a whole part of being less than and also not having the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. But then maybe you're eluding what you do.
Very fascinating. And that will lead us to Matthew 18, but before we go, yes, please.
Is he using the physical to teach us more about the spiritual and how our sins keep us from facing him through the physical deformities?
Okay, so, yeah, again, Matthew 18, 8 and 9, Julie the Good.
And that's verses 8 and 9. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. It is better for you to enter life crippled or lame than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be cast into the eternal fire. If your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out and throw it from you. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye than to have 2 eyes and be cast into the fiery hell.
So, we're supposed to blind and lame ourselves?
Circumspect ourselves and view ourselves.
Why would he tell us to do this? I mean, if he's going around like, you get new eyes, you get new eyes, you get new eyes.
Everybody gets new eyes.
And you get contacts, right? Okay, he's going around, he's healing people, he's restoring sight to the blind, the people who can't walk, he's giving them disability, the people who have shriveled and withered hands or whatever the case may be, he's strengthening those things, filling out the flesh. Why would he then turn around and say, well, if your eye is causing you to sin, or if your hand is causing you to sin, get rid of it?
He's talking about the sins. He's not
And this is where the linchpin began to make sense to him.
sin.
There is an infirmity in our souls or in our spirits that is a more important matter than the physical infirmities that we deal with. You might not be able to see with your eyes, but can you perceive the truth of the Word of God? You might not be able to walk on your feet, but can you walk after the Messiah as his disciple?
Yes.
If you're blind or you're lame, and you're keeping people out of Jerusalem. I had two thoughts on this. The first one being, how many times is it our false perceptions or our faulty walk that convinces other people not to follow us into Jerusalem? If I'm walking a bit weird, does my stumbling, faltering way cause someone else not to enter in? When they see me and they're like, who the heck is that guy? Right? He doesn't know what he's doing. And the second thought I had was, what does Jerusalem mean? There's an interesting word in Jerusalem, shalem. We say Shabbat Shalom, everybody, every week, Shabbat Shalom. Does anybody here know what Shalom means? Peace. Peace. Okay. What else does it mean?
Having completeness and wholeness, everything you can possibly need. You're whole.
Which is what Shalem means. Wholeness, completeness.
Shalom is the completeness of God's will being full 360 to where all evil is destroyed and annihilated, which brings about the fullness of his will, which is the peace of Shalom.
So there is something about being blind or lame that is a barrier to Shalem, wholeness, completeness. And I don't know why I was supposed to talk about this today, but I began to ask myself, what do these attributes represent, right, in the life of a believer? If Yeshua came to heal the blind, to heal the lame, to heal the maimed, and you know I don't get into the allegorizing and spiritualizing everything. I do actually try to walk it out literally and so on and so forth, but I do believe we're not just physical beings, we are not just spiritual beings, we are in fact both. So when I do something, if I go out and I murder someone, right? Is that just a physical act? Or is there a spiritual reality taking place as well? If I go out and force this crude flesh of mine to begrudgingly, walk that extra mile with that dastardly Roman, is it not just this physical act that I'm doing, but also spiritual? So I do believe there's a connection, and I do believe that many of the things we'll talk about in the physical have a relationship with the spiritual. So, what's the problem if I'm blind? What could be the problem? You can't see. Why is that a problem? You can't walk. You don't want to lead others. Right? Blind leading the blind. You can't perceive things. Those who have eyes to see, let them see. Those who have ears to hear, let them hear. So, what does walking represent? Walking it out. So, halakha. You are a disciple. You're supposed to be covered in the dust of your rabbi. If he's walking down the road, you walk down the road with him. Right? What does hearing represent? When your mom asks, "Hey, I told you to take trash out. Did you hear me?" "Oh, I heard you. I might not have been listening. I didn't obey. Like the information went into my head. Did I act on it?" Right? So here's one for you. What does smelling represent? And I don't mean just because you didn't take a shower for 3 days. I'm talking about through the nose. What does the nose represent?
Isn't it wisdom?
Oh,
Breath of life in the nostrils?
Anger.
Lots of interesting
spirit
ideas.
rock.
I'm going to throw one out to you. It's a rabbinic idea. The rabbis believe that the Messiah will judge people by how they smell. Seriously. There's this idea out there that because it says he will not judge by the seeing of eyes, nor by the hearing of ears, how else is he going to do it?
Foreknowledge.
Right? It's a very interesting notion. When you start going through the scriptures and you consider what things smell like, you have the pleasing aroma, which ascends before the Almighty. You have stories about what are the names of Daniel's 3 friends?
He's like Mishael.
Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael. Why are they giving them the pagan names? No. Most people know the Shadrach, Meshach, and the Winnebago.
There's some locks.
That's how they get around.
Yeah.
So, when they're thrown into the fiery furnace and they come out, do they smell like really good barbecue?
No.
What does it say?
They don't have any charred smell or anything. It's just,
They don't even have the smell of smoke on their clothes.
oh.
When our works are going to be proved as in fire, some of us will come through, some of us, our works, will they endure the flames? Are they made of stone? Are they made of gold? Are they made of gasoline? Right? Will the works that you do, the things you offer up to him, what will they smell like? Will they be a pleasing aroma? Will they be a stench? The Almighty talks about when there's certain curses that come upon his people, there is an associated stench. So, prayer, right? Praise, these things come up before him as a pleasing aroma. When we're acting in a different way, there's this filthy smell. And you know what's really fascinating about this? It talks about the many sacrifices that have ascended into the heavens as a pleasing aroma to the Most High, right? I saw this article the other day talking about these astronauts doing spacewalks. And when they get back into the spaceship and they climb out of their spacesuit and they're able to smell things again, they say their spacesuit, which was exposed to the heavens, smells like burnt steak. Which to me is fascinating.
Yes.
Okay, so first I heard a quote about forgiveness, and it goes like this. It says, "Forgiveness is the scent left from a flower whose boot just crushed it." Right? So when you step on a flower, that scent after it being crushed is what kind of forgiveness is like. And then a question, I've never been there, but does Israel smell different? When you get into Israel?
But it's not always
Like when you tell?
Oh no.
I heard that if you show up to like Jerusalem or Israel, that it just smells different there.
I mean, everywhere smells different. You go up to the forest, it's going to smell different. You know, I mean, so yeah, but, you know, you go through the shuk where there are all the spices and everything, you're going to smell one thing. You know, it depends. But so, okay. So the nose has to do with smelling. Well, let's say you're a hunchback. What might that represent? Can you shoulder a burden? Can you carry things? Right? Can you lift the weight of the responsibility of his house? Be it the Ark of the Covenant, be it the menorah, be it the altar, whatever it may be. Can you shoulder a burden?
And these are all priests who are supposed to have the burdens of the tribes upon their shoulders and heart too.
Yes, indeed. What about, the Bible itself says it, crushed testicles, what might that represent?
Prosperity or lack of.
Okay. Children. So if your testicles are crushed, what are you going to have difficulty with?
Childbirth.
The next generation.
Yeah, providing.
Right? an inability to pass things on to a new generation. And as I was going through what the disqualifiers are, these different things, and I was like, okay, what do these different things represent? What is lameness? What is blindness? What is muteness? What's muteness? And this is my favorite one, and this is why we have Exodus 4 on the wall there. Can't preach the good news. Muteness is an inability to speak. Right? You cannot bring forth his words. Who wants to read Exodus 4, verse 10? Please. I love this one so much.
Moses said to Yahweh, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent, either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue."
Moses says, and I'm paraphrasing, I can't talk right now. Okay? I'm not very good at this talking stuff. And then, as you read almost every starting verse in some of the next books of the Bible, it's, and God spoke to Moses saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, say now to Aaron and to his sons," again and again and again and again. Speak, speak, speak. The amount of times after service that people have come up to me and said, Matthew, I can't communicate his word like you can. I don't know how to walk this out. I don't know how to do this particular thing, or I don't know how to look at the word in this particular way, or whatever. If Yeshua wants us to be whole, are we supposed to remain blind, maimed, lame? How many people, when you're confronted with someone who maybe they haven't heard the gospel before, they haven't heard the message about the Messiah, and you're sitting there, "Oh, I'm no good at talking. I don't know how I'm going to tell them these things." How are we going to be whole and useful for the service of his house if we can't speak, can't walk, we cannot perceive his word, we cannot shoulder the burden of the ministry? This is something that we should not be content to just, well, I am just blind. I am just mute. I can't speak. I'm not that guy. We should seek his wholeness in our lives so that when somebody needs us to speak, we can speak the truth of his word. When somebody needs us to shoulder a burden, we can shoulder that burden right alongside them. When we need to show how it's walked out, we are able to walk it out. It takes time in most instances. But I don't believe that he wants us to just resign ourselves to well, Cain is really good at talking, we'll let him do the talking stuff. Or that guy is really good at whatever the case may be, we'll let him do it, or we'll let her do it, because I'm not good at that thing. Fundamentally, what I believe that I was supposed to talk to you all about today and discuss today was, what's your lame excuse? I can't walk, I can't speak, I'm not the one to do that thing. Brian and then Christine.
So when you first brought this up, that verse in Isaiah 61 comes to mind right off the bat, because Jesus, the year of the Lord, bringing sight to the blind, healing the lame, freeing the captive, and it's all of them, and he did it right there so that we can do it. Greater works will you do in my name than I have done. So we're already called to do it, and you already made way. You already prepared the way for us to do this. So yeah, what is our lame excuse?
From a secular perspective, my understanding is that the only cure for something that we are afraid of or unable to do is exposure therapy. So if we're bad at something, we're going to do it badly, but only at first. If we keep doing it over and over because we're told to, because we're commanded to, we'll get better.
It's not a very kosher idea, but in that line of thinking, there's a question out there that says, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Fundamentally, when the children of Israel were told to go into the land, the first time they didn't do it, why didn't they do it?
Because they were scared of the people who lived there.
Because they were lame.
I just haven't developed the giant slayer part of my personality, Lord. Well, here's the question. How do you develop a giant slayer part of your personality?
You slay giants.
Yeah.
You gotta go out and you gotta slay some giants. Right? There are things I'm not inherently comfortable doing that I have trained myself over the years to do. I don't like talking to people. Like, generally, like, if I find a human that's like, ooh, this one's nice, you know, you will be part of my collection, and we shall talk, and you know, okay, and then I will sit in a corner happily by myself most of the rest of the time. This is my natural inclination, right? The first time that I was asked to teach years and years and years ago, I was freaked out, like, you know, and I didn't know how to just be like, okay, this is the thing that I'm doing now. And I have found that in a lesser extent, but similarly, I can't talk, Lord, or I don't want to talk, Lord, or please really don't make me talk, Lord. It's like, okay, now speak. Now speak. Now speak. It's something that I've talked to my wife about a number of times. Has anybody ever been in a situation that just really gets your goat? Like you can be going fine for years, right? And then this one kind of a thing, okay, Achashverosh, right? The king in Esther, okay? I'm reading this story about, like, if anybody comes without being invited, he's going to kill him. Just, that's the rule, right? You approach me with something, and I didn't ask you, you're done. I'm thinking, telemarketers, right? It was telemarketers that kept hounding him about the tax relief network, or, you know, whatever, right? It was the telemarketers that he's just like, you know what? Yeah, no. And, yeah. For me, it's the telemarketers. I'm having a good day, you know, tappity, sending an email, you know, and it's like I'll get another one of those robocalls. I was just like, I shall destroy you, you know, and it sends me like woo off in a different direction, and it's just like part of me is saying, well, you know, if that horrible annoyance would just leave me alone, I would never lose my cool. Because until it happened, I was cool. After it happened, I was cool. But in that moment, I'm like, yes, give me the powers of Achashverosh. I shall strike my enemies, you know.
Bring down fire from the enemies.
Right. So my brain is like, why can't I just not have these people bother me? Why do I need to have these people bothering me? And it occurred to me, that character trait is in me, whether that phone call comes or not. And why should the Almighty be content to leave it there? If my failure is only contingent not on my reliance on His character or not, but on something else that comes at me, then there's something in me which I understand he would not be content to leave there just because he's not going to put me in that situation. It's like, yeah, you're screwed up in this area, so we're just not going to do that to you. If he's going to hone me and refine me and make me face the things that I don't want to face, well, are you happy?
I was just going to say that in Exodus, when we were reading chapter 4, verse 10, I'm saying my favorite verse here is 11 because it says, "Then Yahweh said to him, Who has made man's mouth, and who makes him mute, or deaf, or seeing, or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak." So in my mind, it's like, even if we feel like we're... Also, Moses is like, he's not unable to do this, he's just unwilling. And that's like 95% of us, is we're not unable to do it. We think we're unable to do it, but we're actually just unwilling. And I find that, like, even if we're unable to do something, we need God in either sense. Like, we need God to give us that courage, or we need God to make us be able to do it.
So I think the excuse too for myself was thinking I'm unique, right? Thinking that I'm the only one. In Lamentations it says, "Woe is the sorrow like mine. Who has seen sorrow like me?" You know what I mean? It says, and I was like, I identify with that. You know, and like I'm the king of my, you know, messed up stuff going on. You know, nobody can understand this, right? And that just brings that isolation, and that kind of gets you into a spot, right? And so I think thinking you're unique, and this is the first time God's ever seen something like that under the sun, is definitely a spot to where you can kind of gauge, like, okay, if somebody can convince me otherwise, I'm willing to hear, because right now I can't see it. So with the willingness, like Ari was saying, is huge. You gotta be willing to not want to feel that way, because it's ultimately your choice to feel the way that you feel about it, and nothing outside of you should change that. It's got to be something inside of you. You can't look for something lost in the parking lot if you know you lost it in your house, right? I can't be searching out looking for a key to my house when I lost it in the living room, you know. So it's like you got to look inside in order to fix something.
Well, I would say you have to look to him, but I'll come back to that. I would suggest this is only you. Nobody else. All right, seriously though, who else has been like, I'm the only one, nobody understands what I'm going through? Am I the only one that resonates with that? Show of hands. Okay, there's hands going up. Yeah. This like, I am unique, nobody understands what I'm going through. This is, my gosh, what a narcissistic idea.
Yeah.
In the billions and billions of people that have lived and are living on this earth, you're the only one.
You're the exception.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the one that gets me is how I had to really put this in terms to kind of hack my own brain. I struggle, and I have for years, the more I read about the standard of a righteous God, I've struggled with condemnation. When horrible thoughts come into my heart, when I am less than charitable, less than kind, sometimes I feel like I want to be nasty to someone. And where you're saying, yeah, I've seen you do that. But I had to put it in terms that kind of hacked my own brain. And this is going to sound a little weird at first, but I'll explain. What I said to myself was, what the hell kind of God do I think I am? That my power to sin is greater than his power to redeem. Am I really more powerful than him? To be so wacky that, you know, my power to be unable to do the things he's asked me to do is greater than his power to equip me to do those things. Who do I really think I am? I'm this small, tiny little man in a planet full of humans. But somehow I am the one who can sin so great and have such wacky thoughts that he can't help this poor unredeemable creature. And putting it in those terms helped me to realize how ridiculous I was being. Letting my I can'ts get in the way of the things that he would ask me to do. Amy?
Well, I just wanted to say, springboarding off of that, the Lord takes us through seasons where he is cleaning his house. We're going into one of them. Ellie brought up that he uses the physical to teach us the spiritual, right? And so he has a house and he cleans his house too. So when we have those outbursts of anger or condemnation or fear or whatever it is that's really, really agitating us, we can recognize that his appointed times, we're either in the middle of them or they're approaching, and we can thank him for bringing those things to the surface so that he can clean them out. But we also have to be willing to let him. Because there's a passage where it says that Esau was comforting himself with thoughts of vengeance against his brother. We like those feelings sometimes. We don't want to let them go. And so we have to recognize what's happening, number one, and number two, be willing to submit to when the king cleans his house.
Right.
That's what a springboard off of her springboard, but it's so we're also supposed to look at ourselves righteously as God, circumspectly, justly, truthfully, with the lens that God will look at us and judge ourselves and see what needs to be taken out. And also lean to him and pray to him and ask us to see that, and with help of the Holy Spirit, so we can push out the things that are not supposed to be there. And see ourselves the way we're supposed to see us, not as a God, that is, we're the children of God. We're his children, which puts us at a really high place, right? So we can be puffed up knowing that we're the children of God, but so are you, and so see, and so she. So we're all children of God, which means when you lash out at that person, you're lashing out at God, which puts you in a whole different perspective to say, who am I?
Oh, absolutely. If you imagine, God is a father, and then you imagine an earthly father, and you walk into the room and you smack one of that father's kids. Do you think the father's going to be like, no big deal?
Better not put one of mine.
Right? Fathers don't play with that business. So it's like, yes, be careful how you treat his kids. Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Yes.
Jumping off of that one, two-edged swords, like loving yourself. I always tell people, speak to yourself like you would your dog. Don't berate yourself. But also, do discipline your dog, so you discipline yourself. But you do it with love and kindness. And you look at yourself with the love all the time, even while you're disciplining yourself and correcting yourself.
So fundamentally, when John asked his disciples to go and find out whether or not Yeshua was the one to come, or should they expect another, and he told them, go and tell John the things that you see. The blind are healed, the lame are healed, the dead are being raised up. This is the Messiah whom we serve. If you're in a place where you feel like you can't walk after him, if you're in a place where you're not understanding, if you're in a place where you feel like you can't speak his words, approach the King. Ask him to help you to become whole in these things so that you can serve in his house, serve in his kingdom, and minister to the lost and dying around us. I don't want to be the mute man that doesn't speak and therefore other people are not getting into Jerusalem. I don't want to be the blind man that's leading them off to Tel Aviv because I don't know which direction I'm going, right?
Join the PLO.
Oh. You know, I don't want to be someone who is unable, you know, I was talking about a few weeks back, like, I've got a pretty messed up back, and sometimes it's hard for me to stand up, let alone lift a chair or do something like that. I don't want to be someone who cannot be able to bear/carry, hence bury. I don't want to be someone who can't bear the burden in the kingdom, right? I don't want to be that man. I want to be useful for his house. I want to be able to walk after him. I want to be able to communicate his word to people. I want to be able to see clearly. And those things are going to come from his word, his spirit, his healing, and his guidance. And the world needs people who have that wholeness in Messiah. Because we are supposed to show that to others. We are supposed to lead them into those things. So when people come up to me and say, I don't know how to speak, okay, let's work on that. People say, well, I don't know how to study his word. Okay, let's work on that. Don't just say, well, I can't, and leave it there. I once heard, and again, it's not scripture, but it's a very interesting thought. Those who think they can and those who think they can't are both right. It's a very interesting notion. And I think obviously there are hard limits on that idea.
Yes.
I think I can fly. That might be a bit rough, you know. But point being, don't allow your notions to create limits which don't actually exist for you. I can't talk to that person about the gospel because I can't speak. Moses, I think, is a fascinating example. Not only was he told, speak now to the children of Israel, speak now to the children of Israel, speak now to the children of Israel, but it's also writing the first 5 books of the Bible. I mean, you know, I'm not good with words. Well, guess what you're going to do?
A couple songs, we ready.
And part of me is like, I don't know that I want to put that challenge up to the Almighty. Well, do you know what I can't do? Oh boy, what fun we're about to go through. 2 hands and then we should probably wrap up.
Okay. When I was whining to the Lord, Lord, I really would like to be a good witness for you. I would like to be able to explain things. So I'm saying, study apologetics, and you'll be able to explain everything. But when the moment came, I was fumbling for words in how to be that witness. So I felt totally inept, and I felt I was letting God down, therefore I let me down. He says, number one, you're complaining about yourself. You're my creation. Are you complaining about what I created? And didn't I create you to be complete? And I said, okay, Lord, help me with this because I don't want to make a fool out of myself. I want to be able to clearly explain how much I love the Lord and why I do it, or explain why am I a part of a Messianic fellowship. What's a messy? So I had to get the words to do. And he showed me, if you fight for your limitations, you'll keep them. Number 2, you just read. And you do what you're doing in reading the word. And when the moment comes, you'll be speaking my words. They'll come from me. I was trying to pre-plan everything. So if I memorize the scriptures, I'll be ready. But what I needed to be able to do was to speak from my heart, to give what's in my heart about my relationship with God to somebody else. So I have to maintain that I'm always working on me. And there are times, you know how you read scriptures and you don't think you got all these things memorized? And yet you're standing there talking to somebody and these scriptures come right out of your mouth. I didn't plan to say it. I didn't think I knew it or I remembered it. But the Holy Spirit works through us.
Yeah.
And if I don't study the word or I don't lock those in my heart, then there's no root for him to say, here's that tree of life you're going to give to somebody with my word. So it boils down to, as many times as you and I have talked about it, we need to read the word and know the word, and that's why I'm going for the Hebrew. You get to the root of the words, so that when the time comes, it's going to flow. And I have to stop fighting for my limitations and just let him work freely in and through me.
Absolutely, and for a variety of reasons. First off, the witnessing opportunities he brings to you are for you. They're not for me. They're not for him. They're not for her. They're for you. So, would he not equip you? You don't have to witness to them the way I would, right? If I was supposed to witness to them, then they would be my witnessing opportunities. He brought them to you. And this idea of, well, I can't speak like that guy, or I can't speak like that gal, or I don't know how to communicate like this. Well, that's maybe the exact reason why he brought them to you.
Yes.
Or you experience them.
When you sit there and you're complaining about yourself, right? Like, I don't know about the specs you put into this model.
Yeah.
I've got some serious concerns about the design, the back issues over here. Like, hey, we need to talk. I want to put in a warranty claim over here. The reality is I'm not meant to have your ministering opportunities, and you're not meant to have mine. And the wacky thing is sometimes I'll just be talking to someone, and they'll stop me and they'll be like, "You have no idea how much I needed to hear that today."
Yeah.
And I'll be like, "Hear what?" I don't even know what I just said, right? And it's not like I wasn't paying attention, but everything that just came out of my mouth is like, I'm filing through it. I'm like, I didn't say anything significant at all. But for some reason, that's what they needed to hear. And that's not your opportunity, that was my opportunity in that moment.
And he doesn't always call the equipped, but he always equips those he calls.
Ooh, indeed.
No one.
Indeed. Yes, and then we should wrap up.
God knows what we'll do. He sees it. He doesn't care if we see that we can't do it.
Yeah.
All right, one more time. Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
God, he sees and knows exactly what we will do, and he does not care if we say we can't do it.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
There are giants in the land. I can't possibly go in.
Yeah.
Can you now? Can you not? Of course you can.
We'll call it
What
canon.
did he tell you to do anything? Like, Pharaoh is setting unreasonable burdens on the people. So you know what God is going to do? Visit them with freedom and more unreasonable burdens. Really? No.
Place is called Canon.
Brian.
The other thing is, like, when we have those ministering opportunities, I've always wondered, like, sometimes, like, why is this person talking to me? But as you go through it, it's always an experience or some lifetime experience that you've had that you can relate with them, which is why it's your witness to begin with. Because it's not the words that you can speak versus the words that you can speak or somebody else can speak. It's your interaction, it's that relationship with them and how the Spirit's communicating with their spirit and you're relating to them. So they actually fully, I think it's almost every time I've had a ministering opportunity, it's always amazed me that there's something that's going on in their life that either it's going on in mine or I've already addressed it. Or he's already addressed it, I should say, not me.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, it's always something that's a relation that you can relate to.
Oh, absolutely. I was having a conversation with Anthony just yesterday, and we were talking about the weird and wacky pasts. Because I've got a weird and wacky past. So there's a lot of you. Well, I would say nobody in this room even knows the half of it. But
That's probably good.
who here has ever been kidnapped?
Somebody's been kidnapped?
For fun?
The seer training.
Oh my! Okay. Actual proper kidnapped.
Oh, military kidnap doesn't count.
Right. So, all right. I have a friend in South. I'm not saying I was kidnapped. I mean, I'm not. That's not where I'm going. I have a friend in South Africa who was. So when they come out of that situation, Do I have the ability to say, man, I know how you feel. I know what that's like. No, I can't do that. But them being a believer, if somebody else is coming out of that situation, can they say, I know what that's like?
Absolutely.
He brought me through it. He healed me from these experiences and so on and so forth. There are things I can't speak to in terms of a connection of I've been through that so I understand, right? It's just a fact. But there are many things that if somebody is saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, this thing happened to me, or whatever, if there's a reason why the Almighty brings that person in front of me, and it's like, hey, I have a personal experience which communicates that particular topic, then I can say, you know what? I don't know exactly what that's like for you, but I have been through a similar kind of experience, and I want to tell you how the Almighty helped me to walk through it. So sometimes, yes, it is absolutely about your particular personal experience, which is why that connection seems to happen and seems to come together. But if we're in that place where we turn those moments away because we feel like I'm not able to bring those words forth, or I'm not able to be a good example, or I'm not able to whatever, are we doing a disservice to people who need to hear about the one who came to make us whole?
When I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. When I was hungry, you didn't feed me. It just reminds me of that Matthew verse. When I was hungry, you did not feed me. When I was naked, you did not give me clothes. When I was improperly imprisoned. So these are all our opportunities to give water to Jesus, to give him clothes, to give him food. And without doing it, we're turning our back on him.
Indeed, indeed. Really quick, because we are on the number.
Back to what Julie said, there was a time in my life when I was so introverted, I couldn't talk to people. I went outside to try and walk and force myself. I took 10 steps outside my door and someone said hello to me. And I didn't know what to say back, so I ran out the house and cried. So I came up with 3 phrases, and I practiced in front of the mirror, and then I went out, and then they said hi, and I said hi back, and then they said, how are you? Ran back in the house and walked. So I had to work my way up to that, but I've gotten to the point where, from what she was saying and God teaching us, when someone asks me to pray for them, I will go instantly into prayer and fasting, even if I have food in my mouth. I just go into the set place of, this is where I'm at. And when someone brings something spiritual in front of me, or I get them in my cab all the time, God's like, okay, now I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? And he just does it. I had a 2-hour conversation at McDonald's 2 days ago with a homeless guy. But I just go in, I don't even, and Mom can tell you, after the accident, I stuttered so bad they had to finish my sentences. And I still, when I'm tired, you guys have seen me, I stutter like crazy. Or I need help. But when God brings someone before me, the words flow, but they aren't my words. So it's easier. I don't have to take responsibility. I mean, I do, but you know what I'm saying. But he tells me, and I say it. And a lot of times it doesn't even make sense to me, but it makes sense to them.
And I've had those kinds of experiences. So, let's go ahead and close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing us to get into your word. I ask that you would help us to be complete in you. You would help us to walk your word.